authors, entertainers to innovators, we connect with those who help shape our culture. Join us in revealing stories of their lives and backgrounds, their triumphs and tragedies that molded them into who they are today. Authentically off-script and personally illuminating, this is Audibles with Jason Scarborough. This week on Audibles, Scott Berry.
So July 20th, 1962, that's when we start your story. Neosho, Missouri, am I saying that right?
That's exactly right.
What was it like growing up there?
You know, just a small Midwest town in the corner of Missouri, southwest corner, right next to Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. So, you know, it was a great town. I loved it. Town of about 4,500 now. It's grown to about 12,000. It was the county seat of Newton County. My grandfather was in politics. He was a state representative. He was a circuit clerk. So I spent a lot of time shaking hands and meeting people, just hanging around with him in all honesty. But, you know, close-knit family, and just a special place for me.
If your granddad was involved in politics, I have to assume that they had been in Neosho for a while, or did they come from somewhere else?
Well, neighboring towns. A little town called Fairview is where at one time he had a grocery store there, and they moved to Neosho, which was only about 20 miles from Fairview, and actually had a store there called Berry's Grocery, and spent a lot of time there. After grade school, I'd go and stay with my grandma and grandpa there at the store until my mom would come pick me up. So a lot of great memories about that store. Free ice cream, free candy, anything that I wanted. So no, it was a great little place.
Scott Berry as a kid, how would you describe yourself as a kid?
Full steam. Man, full steam. You know, highly competitive. Could never figure out why, when there was 2 yards to gain in a football game and we're watching Monday Night Football, why that guy couldn't have got 2 yards. He just didn't try hard enough. And I can remember probably below the age of 10 telling my dad, I could have got that touchdown. I could have gotten that. And so, you know, I grew up in a neighborhood. I was younger than everybody else, so I had to learn to play tougher, honestly, because everybody was older there. But what a great teaching tool it was, and helped me mature, and probably helped me develop as an athlete better than anything, just being around those older guys and playing there and just trying to keep up with them.
Speaking of being around older guys in the neighborhood, did you have any siblings, older siblings, younger siblings?
I did. I had one brother. He passed away in '91. Was not an athlete. Had some medical conditions, some kidney problems that kept him from being able to play. But awesome brother. You know, not that he wasn't out there with us playing when we were young. My yard was the everything. It was the wiffle ball game. It was the football game. You know, we had the basketball goal that was higher than 10 feet, so which challenged you a little bit more, especially when you got older and you were trying to dunk. You know, on a 10-foot, 2-inch goal was much different. That extra 2 inches was a big difference. But you know, but I did. I had one brother that, like I said, he passed away in '91.
Was it always baseball that was at the forefront, or was there another sport that kind of captivated you more so than baseball early on?
Jason, the truth be told, I was a 3-sport guy in high school, and back in 1970s, late 70s, you know, you could possibly do that, especially you know, at a school like we had, which we played in the largest classification in Missouri. But truth be told, man, baseball was my third favorite. My first favorite was football, I'm sorry. My first favorite was basketball. I signed a football scholarship out of high school and was scheduled to go to Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg, just outside of Kansas City, a D2 school. But baseball came calling, and felt like that if I could probably stay a little more healthy and play a little longer in the game of baseball than football, so I opted not to go play football and play baseball. But, you know, if I ranked them in order, it would have been basketball, football, then baseball.
Never would have thought that.
No, I enjoyed the seasons. I enjoyed football. I enjoyed the contact. I enjoyed the two-a-days, the summer workouts. I enjoyed everything. But then when it was over, I enjoyed basketball. Being in Southwest Missouri, it would get cold there when football would be ending and winding up, and the transition inside the gym. Man, I loved that. It was a start over. It was my batteries were recharged for another sport, and then the same thing would happen for baseball. But then baseball, it would last through the summer with Legion ball and everything involved with it. Kind of started taking away from football, but yeah, the third favorite was baseball.
I gotta ask. I think I know the answer. What position in football?
Linebacker.
I knew it.
And tight end on
knew it.
offense. So, of course, everybody played both ways, both sides of the ball back then. But you know what? Man, I can't imagine not playing both sides of the ball. If I was playing today, there's no way that it'd be hard to keep me off the field if the defense wasn't on there and the offense wasn't on there at the same time.
You mentioned coming out of high school, signing that scholarship to go play football. So it was the goals and ambitions were to go play football after high school, or what other goals and ambitions did you have?
No, it was really to go play football. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, that kind of changed. Baseball season came around. I started getting some interest in it, and, and it kind of pulled me that way. I guess it was like it was the last thing that I was getting some attention at. And, of course, my coach, who I love dearly, Gary Roark, who's retired now, but, he kind of persuaded me to go to the baseball side of moving on after high school.
Now, you were a two-time region selection at Crowder College as a catcher. Mm-hmm. But then the unthinkable happens. You've got some back issues, and then, the playing career, you got to make a decision at that point. Were you at that point just like, I'm going to go do something else? Or were you like, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to see how far I can take this baseball thing. Did you ever think about hanging up the baseball cleats for good after that?
I played 2 years at Crowder College, which was in my hometown, Neosho. And then I signed with Nickel State in Thibodaux, Louisiana. Went down there that junior fall, and that's where I suffered the back injury, led to 2 back surgeries, led to me not being able to play anymore. So I went back home to Missouri, set out a semester, and then enrolled at Southwest Missouri State, which is now Missouri State University, with just the goal of getting a degree. But Keith Gutton, who is still the coach at Missouri State University, they had recruited me out of Crowder and knew that I was at school there and offered me a position as a student assistant helping with baseball. And really, that is what really got me started on the coaching side. It took a while for me to really accept that I wasn't going to play anymore. It hurt. I won't lie to you. Was I depressed? Yeah, I think I was, in all honesty, because I was so competitive my whole life. And, I think like any kid, you were hoping that a career would happen in that. But, the Lord had a different plan. And thankfully, with Coach Keith Gutton offering me that start at Southwest Missouri State, that's what propelled me and moved me into the coaching side of the game, baseball.
Was coaching ever on the radar growing up, or was it something that just kind of, like you said, just kind of happened, like God had different plans?
In all honesty, Jason, it was a byproduct of the degree. And so at Southwest Missouri State, what I graduated with a bachelor's of science in physical education. And so kind of that emphasis in coaching. And then I got my master's in secondary ed. So, coaching is something that I never really looked at. In all honesty, my focus was on being the player. But when that was ended, then certainly I wanted to stay in the game of some capacity. And it took a while for me to accept that, hey, maybe I can have an impact in somebody else's life as a player.
So in 1991, you become an assistant coach at Meridian Community College and introduced to a gentleman named Corky Palmer.
Right.
Do you remember your first interaction with Coach Palmer?
Yeah, like it was yesterday. It was at the ABCA convention in Nashville, Tennessee, which is American Baseball Coaches Association, our big national convention, probably 5,000 coaches. It's grown now to where it's over 6,000 that'll attend, and actually it's there again this January. But in 1990, there, early January, is when I first met Coach Palmer, and it was through Hill Denson, who I knew. Hill had a couple assistants here at Southern Miss, Doug Lambeth, who was his pitching coach, who Doug and I played together at Crowder. And Doug grew up in Carthage, Missouri, just around 20 miles from Neosho. So, and then another assistant named Charlie Gray. So I was introduced to Coach Palmer and his assistant, Bert Stevens, there January the 4th, 5th, or 6th of 1990, of 1990. And that relationship started then. 6 months later, I'm interviewing for an assistant position with him. And fortunately, he saw something in a young kid from Missouri that he trusted and wanted to work with him, and we did, and worked well. A total of 15 years together, 6 at Meridian, and then 9 at Southern Miss.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Quality of life is about lifelong care. Your family's health care is important to you, and that's important to us. King's Daughters Medical Center is here for your family in every stage of life, from the excited new parents, adolescent and teen years, to the big day. Walking alongside of you in life's journey, living a healthier life. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage croissant plus seasoned potatoes for just $3. It's the kind of breakfast that really sticks with you, especially if you're Tyler. Tyler. Our breakfast.
Oh.
If you want a better breakfast you'll never forget, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
For those on the go, we give you Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast.
What are we listening to? Are we listening to a playlist? Are we listening to a podcast?
What a great question.
Listen to our intimate interviews with guests on your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and so many more.
Do you ever look back and say, my life, the story could have ended up differently had it not been for your grandparents?
Incredibly different, for sure.
Plus, you'll hear behind-the-scenes commentary on each guest, interview preparation, location, and so much more from Jason himself.
Do you have a favorite Coach Bowden story that you can share with us?
I can tell you this, what you see with Bobby Bowden is what you get.
Check out Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast, on any of these popular podcast locations and hit subscribe, download, and enjoy. Now, back to the show.
Of course, your names are linked from that point going forward. You guys were the dynamic duo at Meridian Community College, leading the school to the JUCO World Series in 93, 94, and 96, finishing runner-up in 96. If I get any of this wrong, let me know. You guys led Meridian to 5 Miss Lou Conference titles in addition to making 3 appearances in the Region 23 tournament. And for his part, Coach Palmer was named Region 23 Coach of the Year in 92, 93, 94, and again in 96. So I have to assume, hearing all that at this point in your life, you're thinking, you know what? This coaching thing is working out pretty good, right?
Well, he was just the best to work with. One thing that he afforded me, Jason, was responsibility and accountability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is so crucial, and I've adopted that in my own philosophy with my own coaches. I'm not a micromanager. You know, I'm not out there trying to be that guy that everybody sees is out front. You know, I want my coaches to feel that same responsibility and accountability that was given to me and help them grow. And certainly with Coach Palmer and his ability to have trust, I'll never forget, he said, "You're running the offense. I don't know anything about hitting. That's why I hired you. I'm running the pitching staff." And literally, that's what it was. And, you know, I thought to myself, holy cow, I've never had this happen, you know, like this. Of course, there was only 2 coaches in it. It was myself and him. And coming from Southwest Missouri State, there were 4 coaches. So we each had our own responsibility. But it was a great it was great to be able to do that, because I think it taught me so much. Not only, you know, a lot of people think that learning is from the success. No, learning's from failure, you know, that creates success. And I think that's exactly what you do with that philosophy.
So in 1997, Coach Palmer is wooed away to Southern Miss. You get the opportunity to become head coach at Meridian Community College and take over for the guy that you learned all these lessons from, your mentor. Were you nervous? Were you excited? Was it a boost of confidence? Like, which one was it?
Well, I think it was nervous. I think any time that you are following a legend, you know, and that they've done something that hadn't been done with that program before, there's always that sense of nervousness and anxiety that you might have. But on the same hand, I think that you have to draw back on your preparation and what they have prepared you for. And I think that obviously he did just that. He prepared me for that opportunity when Hill hired him, and Dr. Skaggs at the time was our president, made the decision to elevate me. You know, I still had players in place that I was very close with. There was still that learning curve wasn't disrupted by somebody new coming in and doing something different. We'd been very successful to that point as a team, as a program, and I think it just really, I had people in place that carried that on into those next 4 years that I was the head coach there.
Now, the 4 years you're there, you pick up right where you and Coach Palmer left off. I'm going to read to you what you did. People love when I do this. You took them to 2 JUCO College World Series appearances. You're ranked in the top 10 all 4 seasons in your head coaching time there. Placed 25 players at the Division I level. Coached 9 future pro players. You guys won 50-plus games twice. You almost did it 3 times. You finished with 185 wins in just 4 seasons in your first head coaching job. I mean, when you hear all that now and you reflect on it, what comes to your mind when you reflect on that success at Meridian?
Really good players. Really good players. You know, just what a great situation Meridian was in. We had a president that valued athletics. He loved baseball. Countless times I would come back from lunch and Dr. Skaggs would be eating his Whopper from Burger King at my desk. And I would have to take a seat on the couch until he was finished, and then we would discuss players, we would discuss the recruiting board. He might mention maybe a little more left-handed pitching. He was totally invested in Meridian Community College baseball. He understood the program that Coach Palmer built, and he wanted to continue it. And so, yeah, it was great times there.
2001, your coaching career takes another little bit of a turn. You get the opportunity to be reunited with Coach Palmer here at Southern Miss. It's got to be difficult, or was it difficult? You're building something, and you have built something at Meridian. You're continuing to build something. Was it hard to leave that to come and be reunited with Coach Palmer, or was it kind of a no-brainer?
Well, no, it was kind of hard,
Yeah.
you know, because we had it going. You know,
Yeah.
I'd been at Meridian for 10 years. I'd met my lovely wife, Laura, there. She was a speech communications teacher there. We had our first child, Garen, there at Rush Hospital. So there was 10 years of really good memories. But, you know, he had always told me that if he was the head coach here, that he was going to try to bring me on, and that's exactly what he did. Great story. He said, what if I match what you're making at Meridian down here, which I was making $39,600. And he said, if I can match it, will you come? And I said, well, yeah, I mean, I'll give it heavy consideration. And of course, you know, we were comfortable there and had a good program, and Laura's like, I'll do whatever you want to do. Well, he called me back and he said, I got you $40,000. He said, you coming? And I said, well, and at that time I chewed a lot of tobacco, and he did too. And he said, God dog it, boy. He said, free tobacco, all the free tobacco that you can chew. And I said, are you serious? You know, it was like $3 a pouch at that time. And I said, you're serious? And he was like, yeah, I'm serious. I got a guy that gives me free tobacco. You won't ever have to buy chewing tobacco again. And I said, well, I'm coming, you know, because I saw that as a huge incentive. And we did. And truth be known, for the next 7 years, I chewed free tobacco. Now, I haven't chewed since 2007. I quit in 2007. But, you know, let me tell you something. When you get free tobacco, you chew a lot of tobacco when it's free, and you're not paying $3 a pouch for it. So, but a great story there, and it was kind of the icebreaker of me coming to Southern Miss.
So he gets you a little more money, but that wasn't the kicker. It was the free tobacco.
It was the free tobacco. Yeah, I started doing the math of how much tobacco and $3 a pouch, and hey, this is a pretty good little bonus. So
That's pretty good that's the kicker that gets you to Southern Miss. So you guys pick up right where you left off when you and Coach Palmer reunited here at Southern Miss. The Golden Eagles won their first ever conference title in 2003. You guys led USM to 8 NCAA tournament appearances, including 7 straight under Coach Palmer. The school's first ever trip to the College World Series in 2009, which happened to be Coach Palmer's last season as head coach. That's a ton of success with the Berry and Palmer combo at 2 different stops, 2 different levels. What do you feel like it was in your coaching relationship and your personal relationship that allowed you guys to make such sweet music on the baseball diamond?
Man, it's just like your team. There has to be that chemistry. If you, all great teams, the 8 teams that make it to Omaha have tremendous chemistry. They figured it out. You know, they have a love for one another. They understand the responsibility that each person has. And I'll be honest with you, Jason, Coach Palmer and I were like brothers. I mean, 100%. And we always were that way. Even after he retired, you know, we remained very, very close. We ate lunch together. You know, he would try to draw me into those 3-hour lunch breaks that he was known to have. But I enjoyed every bit of it. It was just the relationship that we had and the trust. And, you know, he would say, you know me better than my wife knows me.
Wow.
And that was a very, very big compliment. And I knew we were totally different personalities, and there were times where I had to be his brakes, and I had to put the brakes on him, and you know, because he was very, very competitive. He was very, you know, as he would tell me after he retired, I got out at the right time. They couldn't take me today, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. They couldn't take you today. But that's the way he was, you know. His personality was, if I knock you down, you better get back up. And there were times where those guys had a hard time getting back up, and it made him mad, and I had to be that bridge. So we were really, really good together, and it was, you know, just a beautiful coaching relationship and overall friendship that we had.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
We believe patient-centered care is where it all begins. That's why King's Daughters Medical Center ranks nationally in patient care and safety. Our staff's commitment to better healthcare means a higher quality of life for so many. We are one team, one heartbeat, one mission to to provide this community with the high-quality health care. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Wendy's without the Wendy's app is like a hamburger without the fresh beef.
No!
Get the app to order ahead, order delivery, earn free food, and get app-exclusive offers. One app, all the Wendy's.
We're going the extra mile, and we're taking you with us.
We have a responsibility to get the work to the streets.
Join us on the Extra Mile podcast as we travel Mississippi highways to bring you in-depth conversations with state leaders,
gotta have the ability to get their product to market,
infrastructure stakeholders, and Mississippi locals to give you a behind-the-scenes look at transportation throughout the state.
Highways, movement of goods, these are things that we rely on every day.
You can listen and watch episodes of the show by visiting gomdot.com/the extra mile.
So sweet, so crispy. Nobody makes breakfast as good as Wendy's new home-style French toast sticks.
Nobody.
Nope.
Keep talking. I can't hear you.
I should probably stop.
Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's home-style French toast sticks.
For those on the go, we give you Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast.
What are we listening to? Are we listening to a playlist? Are we listening to a podcast?
What a great question.
Listen to our intimate interviews with guests on your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and so many more.
Do you ever look back and say, you know, my life, the story could have ended up differently had it not been for your grandparents?
Incredibly different, for sure.
Plus, you'll hear behind-the-scenes commentary on each guest, interview preparation, location, and so much more from Jason himself.
Do you have a favorite Coach Bowden story that you can share with us?
I can tell you this, what you see with Bobby Bowden is what you get.
Check out Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast, on any of these popular podcast locations and hit subscribe, download, and enjoy. Now, back to the show.
I got to think that now that Coach Palmer has passed on, that memory of his last season getting to the College World Series, that's got to be one of the sweetest memories you've got in your career to be able to get there with him.
Yes, it was. I remember the day that he said, "Come on, I need to talk to you." And we walked down towards the field and we stopped right where the weight room is now. The weight room wasn't there. We built that in 2015, but we stopped right there and he said, "This is my last year. I'm done." I was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yep, I feel it. I'm done." And he said, "I'm going to do everything I can to get you the job. Can't guarantee it, but I'll do everything that I can." And he did. And thankfully, Mr. Giannini, who was our athletic director, I think once again, much like a Dr. Skaggs, he understood that the program was going in the right direction. You know, anytime you make change, and sometimes there's a need for change, but you know, that old saying, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. And, you know, thankfully, Mr. Giannini afforded me the opportunity to follow Coach Palmer. But, boy, that day, that was a tough day because I wasn't ready for our coaching relationship to end at that point. But I knew that all change was in place. And even when we got beat against North Carolina in Omaha, when we got back, I told him, I said, "Look, now, if you want to stay on as a head coach, I want you to do that." I said, "Because you will," and I said, "you will get paid what you deserve now." And he said, "Nope." And I told him, I said, "I have no problem being an assistant, you know, being your associate head coach like I've been. I have no problem if you want to continue on now." And he said, "Nope." He said, "I'm done." And but what a great year that was to see it all come together. Tough year, you know, Dozier got hurt. We lost him there, I think, 20 games into the season on a midweek game, and he broke his collarbone. That was his senior year, and the only chance that he had of getting back on the field that year is if we went to Omaha. And we went to Georgia Tech. We won that regional. We went to Florida for the Super, beat Florida there in Gainesville 2 games straight, and and then we went to Omaha for the first time in program history, and we were able to get Dozier in a pinch hit situation in both those games. So, man, it was a great year for Coach Palmer. It was a great year for Brian Dozier, and those two had a real love for one another. So, couldn't be more proud of that memory that I have.
Hearing you talk about that moment, it sounds like it's bittersweet because you get a chance to become a head coach, Division I school, Southern Miss, following again, and your mentor. but at the same time, well, you're already laughing. I'm assuming the nerves had shot up a little bit there.
Because there's a different pressure from junior college to Division I can assure you. And what a blessed place we are at Southern Miss, where baseball is important to our fan base and has been for a long time. And credit the coaches that have been in place to try to build, or not try, but to build this program. There's only been 4 head coaches in the last 63 years, and that's Coach Taylor, Coach Denson, Coach Palmer, and myself. So there's been that consistency. That learning curve really hasn't been broken by somebody on the outside, and our fans, it's just continued to grow. But yeah, coming off from Omaha, it was very, very exciting. But on the same hand, there was that sense of pressure that, once again, following a legend, it kept you moving.
So facing that kind of pressure and facing the nerves, and again, here you go again, following your mentor, a lot of pressure there just in and of itself. I know that anytime you take over a job, everybody wants to put their own personal spin. Mm-hmm. You want to do it your way. And you mentioned earlier about how you and Coach Palmer had different personalities. So going into that 2010 season, your first season, how much of it was a balancing act to, hey, let's don't try to fix it if it's not broken, but there's also some things that I could tweak here, put my own little. That's a balancing act. How did you balance that?
I really didn't tweak a whole lot. I mean, I really didn't. I thought that we had everything in place at Meridian. We had everything in place at Southern Miss. It was working well. I knew the DNA of everything. We had players in place that knew it. We had returners that came back from that World Series team in 2009 that were in place. And I think that if I would have really done anything different, extreme, then they would have said, why are we doing this? I mean, it was all, the gears were oiled and they were moving in the direction. There wasn't really anything now that I did anything different. Now, there's a different seat from that assistant coach's office to that head coach's office, and a different responsibility that I knew coming, being prepared at Meridian. It was just at a higher level and came with a lot more responsibility. But I was taught well by Coach Palmer.
So your first 2 seasons, you kept the train on the track, so to speak, to kind of go along with what you're saying. You take the Golden Eagles to the NCAA tournament, your first 2 seasons, which stretched the consecutive streak at that point to 9 straight seasons in the NCAA tournament. So for you, was it a sense of relief or a confidence boost that you did keep the train on the tracks and, like you said, keeping everything well oiled, or what was it, a confidence boost or more of, kind of a sense of relief, or both?
No, I think it was probably, more of a sense of relief. I'm confident in my ability. I'm confident in our assistant coach's ability. But just sometimes baseball just doesn't work out like you want. There's, it's very unpredictable. There's a lot of variables that affect the outcome of a game. It's not easy to win a game of baseball. A lot of times when you look at scores around the country, you go, how in the world, because of their name, how do they just beat that other team? But it happens, and it happens more regularly than baseball than any other sport. So it was a relief, to get that regional, continue on that consecutive. Like you said, when I took over, we'd been to 7 straight, and to get that 8th and 9th there in 2010, 2011 was really big, and also get a conference championship as well. And a tough one with Rice at the top, of their game at that time, and trying to beat them for conference championships.
In 2017, you coached the program to their first ever 50-win season. That's something that Coach Denson, as decorated as his career was, he never did it. Coach Palmer, he never did it. Mm-hmm. And people will point to the 50 wins, but is there something from that season, how special it was, that maybe stands out to you that maybe the public doesn't know about?
I think everything goes back to chemistry. How the internal parts value one another, respect one another, what that locker room's like, the leadership from within. It's so important from the player side. And 2017 to date, I just feel like that goal, that concept of the older guy teaching the younger guy, this is the way we do it. The younger guy buying into it, being able to be coachable and listen, not only from us as coaches, but also as from our players, who I tell all the time, you need to be player coaches. You need to help us. And so I think that's what we have seen from 17 to place. Really good players, but more importantly, just a love and a chemistry inside that locker room that makes it special each year.
The success of the Golden Eagle baseball program, we've documented it here a little bit so far. And last year was kind of a season of first in some ways for you guys. Get to host your first super regional, another successful season. It didn't end the way you wanted it to, but what do you feel like last season said to folks that maybe turned on the TV and watched Southern Miss for the first time? What do you think it says about the program moving forward?
Well, I think it's about the product that we put on the field. I think it's about the makeup of our product. We stress with our players all the time, we're entertainers. If you want people to come watch you, you have to entertain them. If you go to a concert and a guy gives a bad concert, people aren't going to come back and watch him. And it's no different than the way that we are on that baseball field. And sometimes it's not about winning, it's about how you play and not giving up, that they're proud of, and they want to come back and see if you can do it, again the next time. It's what brings them back. So, that's where it is with that.
Last season, talking about season of first, you also became the all-time leader in career wins, passing Coach Palmer and eventually Coach Denson. Mm-hmm. Going back to being the student assistant at Southwest Missouri and going through the stuff you did when you were trying to decide what was next for your career, and now you're the man at the top of the mountain in terms of career wins here at Southern Miss. What goes through your mind when you hear that?
That there's a lot of people that are responsible for that.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly it falls under my name, but I'm humble enough to know that nobody does anything by themselves. It's about where you've come from, the people that invested in your life, and it's not just the coaches, but it's it's from when you played in Little League, and you never know how you're going to impact a life, and you don't know what we do today may show up when we're long gone. Mm-hmm. But I believe in that, and when I did get that, whatever that win was, it was at UAB. I remember that because the team gave me the ball, but it was about lots and lots of people that played a part in everything that has happened to date.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage croissant plus seasoned potatoes for just $3. It's the kind of breakfast that really sticks with you, especially if you're Tyler.
Ah.
Our breakfast.
Oh.
If you want a better breakfast you'll never forget, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
When you find a great community, you will find great health care. That is exactly what King's Daughters Medical Center provides. Keeping businesses moving with occupational wellness, heart-healthy screenings, diabetes education and management, community education, and remote patient monitoring that promotes better care in between regular office visits. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Family owned and operated since 1986, Lakeside Molding has become the trusted source of architectural products throughout the South. They offer fine interior architectural moldings, custom millwork, and cabinet doors designed and handcrafted in Flowwood. Their showroom on Lakeland Drive is stocked with today's most sought-after interior details, including corbels, post, fireplace mantles, bath vanities, mirrors, and much more. Tim Shoemaker and his staff work closely to meet client needs for new construction, restoration, and remodeling projects. Lakeside Molding, where details make the difference.
For those on the go, we give you Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast.
What are we listening to? Are we listening to a playlist? Are we listening to a podcast?
What a great question.
Listen to our intimate interviews with guests on your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and so many more.
Do you ever look back and say, you know, my life, the story could have ended up differently had it not been for your grandparents?
Incredibly different, for sure.
Plus, you'll hear behind-the-scenes commentary on each guest, interview preparation, location, and so much more from Jason himself.
Do you have a favorite Coach Bowden story that you can share with us?
I can tell you this, what you see with Bobby Bowden is what you get.
Check out Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast, on any of these popular podcast locations and hit subscribe, download, and enjoy. Now, back to the show.
You sound like a lot of folks that, you know, from the time I met you, I knew you were just extremely humble. And I've interviewed a lot of people, and it sounds like what you're saying is what we've heard on a lot of these interviews is, you know, there's a lot of people that built into you on the way up, and, you know, you didn't get here alone. Is that pretty much kind of what you're saying?
100%. 100%. Yeah, for my wife, who's for now, we'll be married 30 years next Monday, this coming Monday. For her allowing me to do what I love to do, and the time that it has taken away from her, our family, but on the same hand, it has brought so many good memories and opened so many doors and relationships for both of us that you can't help but, you know, just be grateful for each and every one of them.
Congratulations, by the way. Happy anniversary coming up to you guys. You won 185 games at Meridian Community College. You've now won 482 so far here at Southern Miss. That's 667 wins combined. Coach, barring something extremely crazy, you're going to win your 500th game this coming season here at Southern Miss. What is the secret to success? For somebody watching, what is Scott Berry's secret to success?
Hire good coaches, sign good players, point them in the direction, let them work, let them feel like they're free to work. And, you know, that's it. Obviously, you know, there's a part that I play in a lot of it, but you don't do it by yourself with it. And, you know, my wife has always said, you know, the old saying, hire hard, manage easy, or you can hire easy and manage hard. And so, you know, it's those kind of things that I've kind of kept with me in that process. knowing that those are the things that are going to make our program the most successful overall.
Man, that's so good. I'm going to use that, by the way. Just going ahead and telling you. So you've accomplished so much at Southern Miss. What do you want to see for this baseball program in the next 5 to 10 years?
Consistency. Man, it's all about consistency. And that tradition that we have, very few programs out of 300 Division I programs have tradition. The majority of them are trying to get tradition. But you only have tradition if you have consistency. And that's what we're trying to maintain every year, is trying to be at the top with that consistency of what we do and how we do it. Running a program that everybody's proud of, doesn't have black eyes on it, and we've done it the right way. And we're producing good young men. Our goal here is to take a young man and hope that he leaves it better than he found it. And because very few of them are going to be career baseball players and make a living, although they want to, just like I did. But, there's a really good chance that they're going to be involved in a community, they're going to be a husband, they're going to be a father, they're going to impact lives, and I want them to know and understand how that happens and not take that for granted.
I've heard you talk about good players throughout this interview. So when you're evaluating talent, what are some of the traits that you're looking for when you look at a potential player and you say, I can work with that right there? What are some of the traits?
Well, character's number one. I want good people in our program. I don't want to bring a guy that has baggage that's going to disrupt the chemistry. And it's hard sometimes to really evaluate that. A lot of that is on word of that coach and people that but it's such an important variable to the recruiting process because it can disrupt everything. If you have off the field problems, you're going to have on the field problems. So, bring people in that are good students, that are good people, and obviously good baseball players and who are very competitive. So, I think that's the bars that we use in recruiting.
So I'm going to switch lanes on you a little bit. What is Coach Berry like at home? Like, what do you do to unwind, to chill out and just, I know you hunt.
Yep, I'm a big hunter. Wish we had some cold weather right now, but we don't. But love to deer hunt, both bow and rifle. Love to turkey hunt. COVID, I fished almost every day because that's all we had to do. I would love to say that I like to fish, but I don't as much as I like to hunt. I'm very handy. I love to do projects around the house. Right now I'm involved in a bathroom renovation project here in kind of our off season, which is not good because it's also hunting season, but it is hot, so I can do that. But, I like to build things. I like challenges that, that say, that a coach maybe is not supposed to do that. But like I tell my wife, I can do that. YouTube will show me everything I need to do. So I lean on that quite a bit and trying to educate me on how to do things. But yeah, I'm not a big TV watcher. I don't watch a lot of TV, although we're big Yellowstone fans. We love to watch Yellowstone and got hooked on that, honestly, in COVID. And neither one of us are big TV guys. And so I like to keep moving.
So you're the do-it-yourself guy around your house is what it sounds like.
Oh, I am. I've probably taken up more projects and taken on more projects than I know what to do with. When we bought our house in 21, we had a boxer, and my wife, I painted all the inside. I totally redid everything before we moved in, and then when we did move in, she said, "Well, we need a fence in the backyard," and I said, "A fence?" She said, "Oh yeah." Mikey, our dog at the time, was like, "Well, he's got to have a backyard that he can play in." So 864 boards later and 54 4x4 posts that I hand dug and set, which still remains intact, that fence. But hey, Jason, I enjoyed every bit of it. I really did. I love building something and then sitting back and looking at your work of what you built.
So if we get in your car, we get in my vehicle, What is your guilty pleasure music? Now, I'm going to preface that question with saying this. We sat in this very office. Your athletic director, Jeremy McLean, said that he enjoys 90s rap. And I about fell out of this chair.
Okay.
So if there's a guilty pleasure music for Scott Berry, I know I'm putting you on the spot, what would that music be?
Well, it's country.
Yeah.
And 100%. I'm a big country music fan.
Yeah.
Right now, I listen to Country Christmas on XM, so have been for a while. I love Christmas music, and but country 100%.
Don't go anywhere. Audibles returns in a moment here on the Spirit Media Network.
Quality of life is about lifelong care. Your family's health care is important to you, and that's important to us. King's Daughters Medical Center is here for your family in every stage of life, from the excited new parents, adolescent and teen years, to the big day. Walking alongside of you in life's journey, living a healthier life. KDMC, caring for our community like no one else can.
Wendy's $3 breakfast deal is a bacon or sausage croissant plus seasoned potatoes for just $3. It's the kind of breakfast that really sticks with you, especially if you're Tyler. Tyler. Our breakfast.
Oh.
If you want a better breakfast you'll never forget, Wendy's is that breakfast. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's $3 breakfast deal.
For those on the go, we give you Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast.
What are we listening to? Are we listening to a playlist? Are we listening to a podcast?
What a great question.
Listen to our intimate interviews with guests on your favorite podcast platforms, including iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and so many more.
Do you ever look back and say, my life, the story could have ended up differently had it not been for your grandparents?
Incredibly different, for sure.
Plus, you'll hear behind-the-scenes commentary on each guest, interview preparation, location, and so much more from Jason himself.
Do you have a favorite Coach Bowden story that you can share with us?
I can tell you this, what you see with Bobby Bowden is what you get.
Check out Audibles with Jason Scarborough, the podcast, on any of these popular podcast locations and hit subscribe, download, and enjoy. Now, back to the show.
What would be your message to kids who have aspirations to play college baseball or college athletics? Or there might be a kid out there today that says, I want to go into coaching. What would be your message to those folks watching?
It's hard. It's not easy. Contrary to what we try to make it seem that it is, and it's easy for you. I see so many people that try to make these changes because they're not willing to grind it out. And I'm talking about players. I'm talking about young coaches. They want it instantly, and that's not the way that I cut my teeth. I went the hard road. I went from a student assistant to a graduate assistant to a volunteer assistant before there was ever volunteers assistants. But Coach Gutton kept me going, and it took me 6 years to get my first paying job. I'll never forget whenever Meridian, when Coach Palmer offered me the job, he said, "We're going to pay you $25,000 a year," and I about fell out of the seat. I called my dad and I said, "Dad, they are going to pay me $25,000 to coach baseball." Now, part of my job was working with student services and going around and speaking with all the 8th grade classes in Lauderdale County about college and Meridian Community College there for a couple of years. But, man, I thought the reward that I had just gotten for 6 years of literally making nothing other than my side jobs of roofing houses, working for the physical plant, setting up liquor displays for a liquor wholesale person, 3 years of coaching in the Jayhawk League and college summer ball. I grinded it out, and that's what I expect these coaches to do that come to me that want to get into the field. And I get calls all the time about how can I get in it. And my message is you got to be willing to pay your dues, man. It's just very few people get it instantly. And it's the same way with players. You know, if you aspire to play college baseball, you're going to have to work hard because there's somebody out there that's outworking you every day. And then, you know, just like life, sometimes it doesn't work out. But it's the work and the effort and the grind that you put into it is going to make the whole difference.
It's evident the baseball talent in this state, high school, JUCO, obviously the collegiate level, what you guys have built here at Southern Miss, seeing what Ole Miss and Mississippi State have done in the last 2 years. When you look across the state, at least for me, you've got folks that have worn red and blue, maroon and white that are now saying, we're rooting for Southern Miss this year. Have you heard that? And if you have, what do you think when you hear that? You've got folks who have rooted for Ole Miss or Mississippi State and other schools across the state. They're saying, we're rooting for Southern Miss this year.
Well, I've heard that a lot.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, State won the national championship 2 years ago. Ole Miss won it last year. You know, I wish I had $1 for every time somebody said, well, this is Southern Miss's year this year. And my response is, if that's the progression that it happens, then I'll take it. So, you know, one thing that I recognized a long time ago when I moved to this state is how important baseball was in this state. And let's credit Ron Polk. You know, to me, he's the founding father, one of them, that really brought attention to baseball. Let's credit Coach Denson at Southern Miss for his vision of Pete Taylor Park and moving from the old practice field football to a new location in 1986 and starting that vision. But the state of Mississippi is the absolute best state in our country for baseball. And our fans embrace it at all three universities, big universities, at the Delta State level, at the William Carey level, the NAIA level, at the Division III level, and the JUCO level. I mean, when you look at our state and what we do with a state less than 3 million people in population, it's pretty darn incredible.
Final question for you. What do you think a young Scott Berry back in Neosho, Missouri, had his baseball career cut short, gets into coaching, and you've carved out this incredible career and legacy here in the Magnolia State and accomplished so much. What do you think young Scott Berry back in Missouri would think about all the success you've had?
Oh, you know, I think he would probably aspire to go down that road, you know. I think that he would probably be grateful for the opportunities, and with the opportunity becomes your workload and how you want to go about it. And, you know, I think the young Scott Berry, who was a competitor on the field, I don't think that ever changed off the field. I don't think it's shown vividly to people. You know, I'm not that. I'm not a rah-rah. I mean, that's not how I played. You know, I didn't, you know, I always tell our guys, act like you've done it before, you know. And not that you can't show emotion and be excited, but, you know, I grew up watching guys like Earl Campbell. When he made a touchdown, he just handed the ball to the referee, you know, and went about his way. And I always liked that, you know, because that just showed something very humble about him, and it wasn't about him. It was about everybody that was around him that he wanted to celebrate that with.
Well, everybody around here, the state of Mississippi, we're rooting for Southern Miss this year, and I want to thank you for doing this and being patient with us. We've had some scheduling conflicts on our part, so I appreciate you being patient with us and sitting down with us for Audibles, and I look forward to the next time we get to visit. I really appreciate it.
Jason, I'm very honored to be on your show, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Awesome. That was awesome, man. The story about tobacco.
Oh yeah, he was like, God dog it, boy, I got you 40,000.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week for another episode of Audibles with Jason Scarborough.